Imagine a boy sitting cross-legged in front of a television, eyes wide, watching his hero swoop across the screen. He thinks he's just being entertained. He has no idea he's being programmed, because every story he watches is teaching him something underneath the action, and what it's teaching him about money will quietly follow him into adulthood and keep his pockets empty. Let's pull the curtain back on how it works. Here's the mechanism most people never notice. Every story is told on two levels at the same time. There's the overt story, the plot, the explosions, the chase, and that part is mostly there to distract the mind, to keep the head busy. Then there's the covert story running underneath, and that's the part aimed straight at the heart. That's where the real programming gets installed, while the audience is too busy watching the fight to notice the lesson. So the question worth asking about any story a person absorbed as a child is simple. What was the covert message? What was it teaching the heart while the head watched the action? Now look at the heroes that shaped an entire generation and watch the pattern appear. Think about the last son of a dying planet, sent to Earth as an orphan, raised by humble farmers with nothing. A poor, adopted child. And who is his greatest enemy? A powerful businessman, a wealthy tycoon. The richest man in the city stands opposite the good guy. Think about the boy raised by his aunt and uncle in a modest home, bitten by a spider, forever short on rent. Another poor orphan hero. And his archenemy? An industrialist, a man whose fortune runs into the billions. Do you see it yet? Over and over, the good guy is broke and pure, and the villain is rich and rotten. Story after story after story, the young mind receives the same quiet download. Wealth equals evil. Nobody said it out loud. Nobody had to. The heart learned it anyway. Now, a sharp viewer starts pushing back around this point. But wait, one of the great heroes was a billionaire. He drove the best car in the world. True. He was rich. But notice, he was written as the one hero with no actual powers. The story quietly suggests that a rich man can only be great if he buys his greatness, because on his own, he's just a man. Given the choice between wealth and a real gift, the story nudges you toward the gift. But there's another one, the genius in the flying suit of armor, and he's fabulously rich. True again. And how is he written? As an arrogant, self-absorbed man who steps on everyone around him. The message is consistent. On the rare occasion a story lets a hero be rich, it hands him an ugly character flaw to go with the money. Wealth is allowed, but only if it comes stapled to something you'd never want to be. Even a hero celebrated as a king with a hidden fortune came bundled with a spiritual message the audience never signed up for. A worldview slipped in underneath the cool suit and the great fights. The suit was the distraction. The worldview was the program. Zoom out, and the pattern isn't an accident of a few films. It's a long campaign. The entertainment industry effectively declared war on business decades ago, and most people never noticed a shot being fired. By the time the average young person reaches adulthood, they've watched thousands of murders acted out on screen, and a stunning number of those fictional killers were written as business people and entrepreneurs. On screen, the entrepreneur has been made to look more dangerous than the career criminal. So is it any wonder that a generation raised on those stories grew up wanting nothing to do with building a business? They were taught, frame by frame, that the person who creates wealth is the person to distrust. All they're left wanting is to save the planet from the very people who build things, never realizing that the instinct itself was installed. Step back and ask the uncomfortable question. Who benefits when a population believes that wealth is wicked? A person who is broke, sick, misinformed, and afraid is far easier to steer than a person who is prosperous, healthy, well-informed, and courageous. The message that successful owners must be evil doesn't come from a place of virtue. Very often, the one promoting that message is the one worth watching closely. Yes, Some businesses really are run by people with bad intentions. That's real, and it's not the claim here. The claim is that this is not the nature of business itself, even though a lifetime of stories trained people to assume it is. Here's the liberating part. No one is born with a single belief about money. Every last one was handed over by someone, a screen, a story, a studio. So a person is completely free to check the source before sprinting off in a direction that ends at a cliff. The boy in front of the television grew up. He can go back and audit the code now. He can watch the old stories with open eyes and ask, every time, what is this teaching my heart while it entertains my head? You were never just watching movies. You were downloading a worldview. And if that worldview quietly taught you that building wealth makes you a villain, then it's been costing you a fortune ever since. The good news is that anything that was programmed in can be programmed out. Start by watching the stories that shaped you, and this time, watch what they're really saying.